We liking the music? Give it another year, I'll almost know what I'm doing. Right, let's turn that down. Give a few shout outs to people that have joined already. I'm currently, for some strange reason, the only technical fault is I'm under host. Okay. Uh, Nuclear MOS. Do you know what? That is a perfect name. Welcome. We've got Buck03 fan. Fire, fire, fire. Quite right. Von, lovely to see you as always. Nuclear MOS. Vibing, man. Just getting some lunch ready. Oh, I can't talk about food. I'm day 5 of a fast. It's going well. Hilsey, good to see you in the chat. Lovely to be here. Go get 'em, my lord. Thank you, my lady. Much love as always. Let's run with the wolf. Why not, Andrew? What else are you going to do on a Friday afternoon? Stay at the pubs. 1796 Patriot. 80s rock is the best. Patriot, if I can find it, it's under a genre. I'll chuck it on. But I very much doubt if it's free, it's going to be any good. Have I missed anyone? Let me just make sure. I'm just waiting on the VIP to be able to come back and join in. Everything's set up, ready to go, so there shouldn't be no technical problems. And I'm hoping our dear Mick Rooney will be able to join us at some stage. I'm on a cup of tea and a pack of digestives. Oh, chocolate McVitie's digestives. Do you want to know a trick, Andrew? Chocolate McVitie's digestives and a rich tea biscuit. It's like a chocolate sandwich. But the rich tea gives you that extra bit of crisp, that crunch. I could demolish a couple of packs. How about some Smiths or Morrissey? Hilsey, I wish we could, but yeah, I'd end up getting fined or whatever the hell happens. Lizzie, hi Wolfie. Hi Lizzie. Boston Forrer. Tom Petty, love Tom Petty. I wish I could play my playlist, honestly. You'd love it. Looks like all of you have got a similar taste to me in music. Let me just go back to the top, make sure there's no one, make sure comfortable. 1796 Patriot. Wolfie man, can you give an update on Down the Rabbit Hole documentaries coming? Yeah, that was completely off topic for what we're about to do. But me and Jax S at Jax S2828. He's been in some of the some of the Twitter space calls. Talks very highly of everyone that's allowed him the chance. Great guy. We've been chatting for about 3 hours. So he's just gone out on a quick break. And then when he comes back in, we'll get things rolling. Give a few people hopefully a chance to come in. If they hear the music, they might think, hang on, Wolfie's learned something else and stay a bit longer. I can assure you it's worth listening. I'm away at work for the entire weekend. I'm actually in a Premier Inn in the UK, hotel you can go and stay at because it's quite away from where I live. So I'm not in till the morning. I reckon it'll take maybe an hour and a half to get through everything Jax wishes to share. I've given the opportunity to everyone, every step, every way, every opportunity. Come and join in. If you want to be heard, you want to have your say, you want to present what you've got to say, you can come and join. So once he comes back, we'll crack on with that. But down the rabbit hole. So I did speak with Christina Lee Copeland via email, probably beginning of the week. Got a reply just saying that they're working in the background to make it all happen. The plan is it will still be out this year. I haven't been told any different. They're looking at the finances of it and everything else that goes with trying to put together, obviously, the film. So no bad news, just things going on in the background, having to get people in and sort things out, etc. So that's about all I can say on it. But I'm still as 100% committed to doing what I can to get people's eyes on it, get people to watch the Wall Street Conspiracy, which, as you know, is now free for everyone. And the film is still going to proceed this year. Who else we got? While we're waiting for our friend Andrew Francaise. Hey guys, saying hello to everyone. Ex-Lib, hi, good to see you in the chat. Andrew Dow, you can tell we're English, you know it. Ilsy's had a giggle. Good on you, Ilsy. We're going to have a few giggles as well tonight, I hope. I'm in no rush tonight. I'm away, as I said, in a hotel working all weekend. Not until tomorrow. So I'm in no rush. Nice that you all dropped by. We'll see what it is. What's the topic for today? 2 weeks. But I don't want to take nothing away from our man who I can see is now back. And we'll get started in the next minute. Don't miss this. Right, everyone's listening in. We've got a few coming in. That's nice. People going, putting stuff in the chat. How hard the word giggle makes me laugh. Just checking again, Jack says, for everyone. You're okay to be seen live, or you just want to show your computer screen?
Oh, I could go live. I could care less.
Awesome. Top man. So from here on in, I'll call you Jax. I've just explained we've been chatting for about 2.5 hours, 3 hours, going over everything you got. Tonight's your night. I'm here to assist and maybe hammer home a few of the points that you're going to be making and stuff. So let me just turn my camera on so everyone knows I'm here. Good evening, all. Stephen Searbert, I guess I'm chopped liver. I'll try and do a few shout outs. Tonight's going to be a little bit different because I've got a guest, a VIP guest, with lots of info. So let me just turn the music down. We've got Jax on the screen and we've got your info that you want to share. That is absolutely perfect. Right, Jax, if you'd like to introduce yourself, my friend, I'm really glad you reached out. I'll try and get as many possible. You're the first one that's followed up and wants to do this. So the floor is yours, my man.
Well, it's important for everybody to see what's going to happen. The information that I will be displaying on here and that Wolfie and I have been talking about, I believe it's going to be the everything crash. It is not just one area where we're made to believe where it's going to be the stock market or the real estate market or commercial. It's going to be everything all around you. And that's information that I will be going over will explain why I'm led to believe that this is going to happen this way and how it's going to happen sometime soon.
That's the perfect intro then.
You're very welcome.
Yeah, top man. For those who don't know, Jax says, as I said earlier, just so it's all on here properly, it's been in various different chats, been around for a long time, reached out, we're chatting, his info and that I love, very in keeping really with Think Tank, Thinking, Boss Blunts and everybody else. So for that, as soon as we got down and started chatting, it was quite some conversation. So with no further ado, let's crack on and see what we can deliver. So if we bring out the first slide you got, Jax, and then you can talk away.
Let me go ahead and I'm just going to open this so it is actually full screen. Y'all see this?
I certainly do, friend.
All right. So what this is based upon the Federal Reserve, and this is for all commercial banks, all banks, period. So this is your main players. You have Chase, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, Goldman Sachs, so on and so forth. This is the largest outflows of bank deposits since 1970. This is the highest level of cash stored money market funds ever. Least attractive stock market relative to the crash since 2000. Bank deposits have been declining as investors are withdrawing their money from the banking system at an unprecedented rate. This has accelerated since the SVB default. What this basically is explaining to you is that money, instead of it being with the big players out there, your Chases, your Bank of Americas, your Wells Fargos, and all others, is basically they are moving them from ISDA banks over to non-ISDA member credit unions or non-ISDA member banks. This is also accelerating the fact that people are pulling out their money and using it towards the stock market. In 2020, when everybody wasn't allowed to work, what did we, instead of keeping that money and putting it, just leaving it into our bank accounts, what did most people do? They bought on the low and they went ahead and started piling money and money and money into the stock market at an unprecedented rate. And that's why you saw such huge and massive buy orders on our wonderful stock AMC.
Appreciate that, my man. Just for people that are joining us now, numbers are going up, at least from our channel. Tell us a little bit before we go any deeper about yourself, your history, what sort of line of work you're in and stuff.
So I run a mortgage brokerage out of Schaumburg, Illinois, which is a suburb of Chicago. I also speak for soldiers through USAA, Federal Credit Union, in regards to the banking sector, and give lectures and speeches in regards to real estate, bonds, yields, and coming soon will be LIBOR.
We're going to get into LIBOR, I believe, but appreciate you doing that. Obviously, they're the finest people, put their lives on the line, so it's nice to meet people like yourself doing what you're doing. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much. If you knew what I did, you wouldn't like me either, but that's okay.
Yeah, we all do things. But here you are reaching out, trying to share some info, your own views, some facts. Let's see what we got going on. So, for you, with Wells Fargo backing out of the mortgage, how big a deal?
What was the question? I'm sorry.
With Wells Fargo, your first part that you've spoken about, how big a deal is it that they're actually backing out of the mortgage markets now?
Huge. Wells Fargo was at a time the number one lender and servicer of all FHA and government-backed loans. So this is your FHA, your VA loans. They were the ones that basically bought it as an investor for them to service and for them to be able to go ahead and actually sell those mortgages. By them getting out of the mortgage sector, along with Chase and Bank of America, firing up to, I think it was 10,000 people in their mortgage industry. This is JP Morgan and Chase. They fired up to 10,000 people in just their loan officers in general. They've completely dismantled their processing sector of mortgages and also fired up to 4,000 underwriters. Wells Fargo basically cleared out the same, and now is being on very dangerous ground on trying to dabble into the bond markets, which is, I will go over, it's exploding.
Okay. So I try and explain it when most of what I do is to reach the people who just do not know through no fault of their own, busy working, etc. The trillionaires tend to move, is my observation, my belief. The trillionaires move, the billionaires move, then they tell the millionaires and it all goes to shit. So Wells Fargo, being a large organisation we're going to discuss, isn't the only one. But do you believe that's in keeping with that mindset, that belief that I've had and shared with people?
Yes, 100%. It is, like I said, like I was telling you, it's the everything crash, my friend.
Everything bubble.
Yep, the everything bubble, because each market has a correlation to each sector. So as one thing goes, you could take that piece and throw it away, and the same thing for the next one, and they all correlate between each other, which is what I hope to explain throughout this entire video.
Oh, you will. You will. A financial spider's web that they're all part of around the world, choking us all. Okay, brilliant. So that's Wells Fargo. Your next bit.
Despite the SVB collapse, the S&P 500 rose 10%, seemingly ignoring financial crisis risks. However, banking conditions continue to deteriorate. As you look at the chart, this is telling you that here's where this money is at, which is in the millions, by the way, but I put it as a decimal, is going down and going down at a rapid rate. And it's continuing to decline as more people start to run on these banks. These banks are not protected by any which way. And by doing so with these, our government is basically trying to sanction small to mid-size credit unions and make sure that they move towards the bigger commercial banks. Why? This is where they hold the most amount of money. This is where there is the contracts come into play, and to make sure that they have set collateral for them.
So when they keep coming out, mainstream media, etc., saying everything's fine, it's fine, it's all going to be okay, we're going to protect everyone. What do you think?
I think if I could put up a picture of Janet Yellen taking a huge shit on the toilet, that's what I honestly think, because that's what she's literally taking all of us as fools as toilet paper to wipe her ass.
Pretty damn much.
If you want me to be frank, I will be, because it's 100% true. Yeah, I want to put to rest the word liquidity. Liquidity is a made-up word. It is a fancy way for them to say that they have money. The correct term is collateral. Liquidity is bullshit. Anytime you hear the word liquidity, just think of a clown literally throwing up shit out of their mouth because they are talking bullshit. That's it.
I'm glad you clarified that for me.
Yep.
So we've had Wells Fargo that have already pulled out of the mortgage market, and we'll get into a little bit later regarding, other things that's going to impact. But what do you want to talk about next, my man?
So we are witnessing the steepest year-over-year contraction in bank deposits since the 1970s.
Can you share that? I know you're looking at it. We was looking at it earlier. Can you share that? Because I've got Wells Fargo up at the moment.
I don't know why you have Wells Fargo up. There.
It's currently showing on your Twitter.
Oh, I thought I was sharing the screen. Hold on.
No problem.
Let me do. Where is it? Window.
Maynard, appreciated your definition there. Good to see you, Maynard.
Good to see you. Let me try and bring this back up. And are you seeing this now?
I am. Let me maximise. That's better. That's better. So do you just want to go over that last bit of chat? Because obviously people can see it now.
Yeah. So, okay. Did you see? Here's the first slide, just so everybody can see that.
There you go.
That's coming in. I'm going to make this a full screen just so it gets rid of all the side stuff. You still see that?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is the banking deposits. If you guys look at 2020, here's the money that's coming up. This is the pandemic. Here's more money that the Fed is printing and sending out to us. Here's the peak. This is when all the checks stopped. And as checks stopped and people, they say that our employment is great, that it's improving. It's not. This is people that are just coming back to work. This is all this is. This isn't a a new thing. It's just people went back to work. Now people are being forced to get second jobs because of rates, and I will go over that later on. But as this continues, it's going to continue to decline because people are realizing that is the banks aren't bad. Is the banks are to cover bad bets. Is the banks, they can pull your money out and use that as collateral for their risky bets. This is what I went over before with the SVB collapse and the S&P rose 10%, seemingly ignoring financial crisis risks. However, banking conditions continue to deteriorate. So you can see this is all the regional banks that are in the United States. This is all of them that were steady, 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 and then boom, because of SVB.
And that was just the one particular bank that caused that particular drop.
Yes.
And just out of interest, off the top of your head, do you remember the amount that was said that they were in trouble for?
I don't remember the number offhand, and I don't want to be misquoted, but I know it's a lot of money. And there was a lot. One of the main problems was because in the tech center of business, a lot of loans were made by tech companies, and they weren't paying those back. SVB was known for easy loans for commercial businesses, and if they would get these loans, never pay them back, so they have a lot of bad paper that's just debt and liabilities that aren't considered collateral, which they were using as collateral.
So just to hammer it home, my understanding, widely reported, the second largest ever failure.
Yeah.
But not the second largest bank out there by any means.
No. Second largest bank failure to Lehman Brothers.
Yep.
So what you're seeing now is all of these year-over-year contraction between bank deposits. So if you go back, the last time that we've ever seen this in the United States was 1970. Between the 1970s and 1980s was the lowest part. We are past that. So the percent change from a year ago, as you could see, it's pretty much on a medium keel all the way across. But this is the deepest contraction ever. And this line is still going down. It's not stopping because, like I said, people are realizing that this is not a place to be. I can't keep my money here. The money is not safe here.
And what's your take on, because for people that are looking at the chart at the moment, deposits, all commercial banks, every bit of money that we're putting in or everyone puts into the banks, when it climbs up in that 2020, it goes straight up like a rocket. Where was it? Let's have a look. Roughly at about 6 or 7%, but then shoots up above 20. What's your take on the reason why that actually happened then? Because did everyone suddenly come into money and put their checks, their stimulus checks into their bank accounts, or
COVID money? This was all COVID money in 2020.
Yeah.
So everything that we had in COVID, that was this. And then people decided that, hey, okay, it's going to go up, and then it comes down a little bit to almost hitting the line of 20. So this is when people started to go ahead and actually take out money and starting investing in that portion of it. And then you have the timeline between then and now, which is the SVB crash, and watch it run and run down.
So if I didn't know nothing about that, nothing about what's going on, I could look at that and think, oh, everyone's doing great. Everyone's got savings have gone up. Like everyone's got money in the bank. They're doing okay. But in actual fact, it's in essence fake money. It's Fed printed money that they provided either directly through the stimulus or to the big banks or whoever.
It's your monopoly money. It's your monopoly money that never goes away and never runs away and is always the same amount, kind of. last time I checked, that's how Monopoly went. But we're not Monopoly.
Yeah, we're not going to pass go, are we?
No, we definitely are not, and it's really scary to think about when it comes to these ISDA banks, because all the stuff that you're led to believe that are assets for you, like your mortgage, which you have equity on, that you've paid down, your credit cards that you have a credit limit on and you are way below that, or you only use your credit or your credit cards for like for money transfers and that stuff, your auto loans that you thought you had all this equity because you've paid this thing down, and if you ever came into a pinch, you could refinance it at a lower rate and possibly get some cash off of it if you ever needed to, is all rehypothecated crap towards their bad bets. It keeps on, and it's just a cycle. They go ahead and make an ISDA contract. What's their collateral? Your mortgage bonds, your car, your credit defaults, all your credit that you thought you had is with all the bank's collateral. Because why? You put your money there.
So like the meme that we keep seeing with the Three Stooges, where one of them says to the other one, "You owe me $20." So he takes $10 out and gives it to him, and then the one to the other side of him says, "Well, you owe me $20." So he then gives him the $10. And then the other one that initially give the $10 says, "Well, you owe me 20." He
Correct.
gives him. Now all of a sudden they're saying they all owe each other $10.
Yep. And money keeps on moving and moving and moving, and it's moving in nanoseconds. Money doesn't ever stay in the same spot for longer than a day. It doesn't. It's being moved at a light pace where you can see it going literally from the time you transfer it, it's gone. The perfect example would be South Park, and where Stan goes up to the counter and says, "I want to invest in this," and the guy's just like, "All right, perfect. Let me put your trade in," and it's in. Oh, and it's gone.
Unfortunately, yes.
Unfortunately, but that's the same thing with money. That's how it is.
Yeah.
The U.S. money market fund yield versus the U.S. bank deposit rates. So when looking at this chart, you're basically looking at investors are shifting from low yielding bank deposits to high yielding money market funds. The fastest rate hike cycle in the history is putting the banking system under immense stress as investors adapt to new interest rate environment. So as interest rates start to higher and keep on raising to try and hammer out inflation, you're seeing the inverse effect of that by the banks, because we, the people, are actually realizing that our money isn't safe in the bank. So where can we put our money if we know it's safe? Well, I know that my money's safe if I go ahead and I invest it into AMC. That's my new savings account because it's going to earn me interest regardless at some point in time. This is what is happening to our banks. So as all this happens and the differences between how the Fed target rate, the money market fund yield are increasing, look at your savings from this chart.
So when they fractional reserve banking used to require a certain amount of money kept by the banks for liquidity. They changed that ruling in 2020, allowing people to not do that. I believe it was 2020, 2021. But they allowed people, banks, not to actually hold that reserve amount that they were previously required to. Has that contributed to this as well?
Absolutely, because the most recent Fed test was requiring all of these commercial banks and all these, too big to fail banks to only have to hold $1 million.
That's yours. That's right.
So
Yeah.
if it's $1 million, that is not even close to the amount of money that is needed for just your standard deposits and withdrawals. But it's okay. Don't worry about it. We'll fix it later.
It's fine. I got a magic wand. I got 10 of them. We'll be all right.
Yeah, exactly.
So people are taking all the money out of the banks one way or another, whoever it is, whether it's us or whether it's the bigger players, and they're moving them out now and getting more involved in the yields.
Yeah. It's not really the yields. It's more so like money markets.
Yeah.
And it's the fund yield is the money market fund yield is different from the actual money market account. The money market fund yield is basically the difference in percentage of the yields spreads, which I will go over later on for the 1 month and the 2 month yield and what happened to those today. But there's a huge disparity between the money that's here and the money that's being printed to what the value of money actually is and how that directly affects the bonds.
Perfect. Okay, mate.
So this is up on top. I kind of squashed this slide just a little bit, and this is kind of where the S&P 500 headed to a weekly losses after 5 straight wins as investors fear higher rates for longer investors. QQQ Trust, Series 1, SPDR, S&P 500. I will state this proudly, I am not a fan of Bazinga in any way, but there is actually some truth to this because of the rising interest rates. And this is the only reason why I even put this on there. I mean, not even 2 days ago, Bazinga was completely erased from Twitter because of, in my opinion, how corrupt they are. But this actually does hold some light water to it. And so that's why if you guys want to copy the link and read the article, I encourage you to do so, just so you can understand where they're coming from on this article.
It was kind of a good topic for me because even the devil told the truth occasionally. So I'm not a fan of Benzinga, the same as you. I've observed some of their reporting, and I think they're all tied in. They certainly ain't out there for truth and justice like we are as a community and stuff. But I'm willing to listen. I think as a community, we've had times where there's been information that's been ignored because of the messenger. Sometimes that's a good thing. Other times I think maybe we should, I tend to work that way anyway, personally. I'll look at what's there and I'll join the dots up. I'm not looking for information that validates what I believe. I'm looking for information either or. I think that's quite telling graph that Benzinga have put out there, to be honest.
I listen to both sides of the story, and the only reason that I do is because this way I can come up with, in my mind, a constructive reasoning as to why they're saying that. But when you spew out crap and you have nothing to back up your crap, I am going to call you out on it. That's just me. And because there's always two sides of a coin. There's not just a one-sided coin. There's no such thing as one. There's two sides to every coin. And that's why you need to understand where your opposition is at. So this way you know how to attack them.
All right, we cleared that up. So we've got on there on the graph for people 1 month Treasury rate versus the 3 month Treasury rate. Talk me through why it's such a big deal.
This is in regards to money. So this is where your money, your bonds, and this is kind of where this all comes in. So this is the 1 month Treasury rate versus the 3 month Treasury rate. There's a severe stress as the extreme front end rates have decoupled. The 1 million T-bill is now at a 3.89%. and the 3 million T-bill is now at 5.20%. The spread is at a record. This has never happened before, of 131 basis points. This is the same signal that happened before 2008. The exact same thing as 2008. They won't report on this. They won't. And the reason being is because they don't want your money going out of banks. They don't want your money being put into your mattress, or I will throw out an oldie. But has anybody seen the Vegas Vacation movie? That is where the brother-in-law is sitting there saying, well, I got money. It's all buried in my yard in jars. They don't want you doing that.
Nope.
That's why they don't report on certain things. And this signals that our treasury bills, our money, is going down. The value of our dollar is going down. Currency as a whole is going down, and it's going to continue to go down until things are rectified.
So at the bottom there, he's saying about the 1 million T-bill at 389. Just to reiterate, 2008 was the last time you see that?
Yes, correct. This was the first outgoing signal of a crash.
And what's the usual percentage? You say 131 BPS.
You're pretty much, well, these are the basis points. So basis points is basically the spread between two different yields.
Yeah.
So now normally the T-bill, as you can see from July of 20, January of 21, where is it at? 0. It doesn't move.
No.
It doesn't move.
No.
Normally it doesn't. When this starts to pick up like it is a problem. Why? Because there's more money in circulation than there should be.
And that goes back January 22. So it took a while, but it looks like it's filtered through now. In January 22, we've had a breakaway.
Mm-hmm.
And then we end up with the record 131.
Correct. And the 1 million or the 3 million here should never be inverse of the 1 million and the 1 month. These should never be in an inverse of each other.
And that goes out completely opposite to the fact that all the deposits are going down in the banks. People ain't got the money that they used to have held in their bank accounts across the board in all the banks.
Correct.
The fact it's disappeared. This shouldn't be how it's appearing now. What we're seeing with this inverted.
You're seeing a huge problem with money and value and everything else, and where it's being printed at an astronomical rate. It is a problem. This is a huge problem. And that leads to this monstrous problem, which is this is the Treasury general account. And for anybody that doesn't understand this, I'll make it simple. This is the Treasury's bank account. So as the Treasury general account is dropping 137 billion per month and dropped to 50 billion just this past week. At this pace, the government will be out of money in 2 to 3 weeks. Means the FDIC won't have any capital for insured deposits and complete shutdown of government. But yet, no mainstream media, news organization, media is reporting on this. Why?
When Yellen's been out there, Jack's talking about hiring a debt ceiling from the current amount to 52 billion. 52 billion. Is that why she needs it?
Oh, this is why she needs it. Because if she doesn't have any money. The Fed is damn near insolvent. They don't have it. And on top of that, the problem is that what country is going to buy our bond if we raise it to $50 trillion? Who's going to be able to afford it?
And even if they were to get the go ahead with that, what's your thinking on it? Even if they got the go ahead on that, that's another can kick.
It's the can kick, but they can't kick the can.
No.
And the problem is that if you do have our debt at $50 trillion, and we were able to get that, in my personal opinion and my personal hope is that they actually be Republican and not do the put money in pocket thing. But we all know politicians are dirty, and we all know that they're, do all that crap. But if you really think about it, if they actually did what we voted them to do and they decided not to raise it, they would be doing us a solid service. If they do raise it to a 50 trillion debt ceiling, my question is that, one, how are we ever going to recover? Two, who can possibly buy that bond? And now, if you think about it, that you have Japan and China are the two biggest bondholders of U.S. debt. They hold the bonds. Japan right now is in a worse situation than us. They really are. Their interest rates are crazy. They're buying bonds and selling bonds at a record pace just to prop up their yen. And if you continue to do this, let's just say that they sold our bond and somebody were to buy it. I don't want to put ideas in people's heads, but what if one of our enemies decided to buy our bond and be in control of what we do? Please, what do we do then?
Panic. On the just to clarify this before we move on to the next bit, 112.955, is that trillions, billions, millions?
That is billions.
So 112 billion, and we're watching.
No, I'm sorry, that's trillions. I'm sorry, that's trillions.
Trillions. So we're watching the debt climb on the US debt calculator. You can go online and find that. Today I noticed for the first time. Now, if you go on the US debt calculator, you just type that in, it will come up, and it brings up lots of info. Towards the bottom left-hand side is US debt owned by foreign countries. Today, when I go on there, I noticed that for the first time it was dropping about $100,000 every 10 seconds. In the top right-hand corner, you can click on the time zone and go back in time. In there, from memory, it was 2020, maybe 2016, 2012, 8, and it goes back. And you can click on there, and it's in every other time period, it's climbing. I haven't been able to bring up every day or sit there for hours and hours and go through it. But every time I clicked on what was available, instantly it was always going up. So people were interested, still buying US debt, bonds, etc., issued from the Treasury. Today, when I looked, it's going down 100,000. When I look at the fact that the Treasury General account, so basically the bank account, that's lower than ever.
Yeah. Correct. Because you have Japan and you have China, which are selling bonds off, like I said, at an historic rate as well, to try and prop up their money and devalue ours. That's why you're seeing it moving as fast as it is, because the bonds are being sold off. To who? I don't know.
And at least for today, when we look today, anyone that's buying them bonds ain't buying them quick enough in order for the counter to go up again at the moment.
Well, it's not just that. Now, the Treasury General account is also used for the banks. This is also being used for reverse repos. this is their general account. So when they go into prop up your S&P and also short the VIX, this is what's being used. When your reverse repos are going out at $2 trillion a day for the last 200 something days, this is what's being used, so on and so forth. It's not just your bonds. This is your everyday account and what bills you have to pay for.
And this is literally every like salary for Congress or
Congress has a say in what. That's why you see Janet Yellen testifying in front of Congress. This is why you have her sitting in front of the Senate, and the same thing with Gary Gensler and so on and so forth. And also Jerome, I'm going to do what I want, Powell. Same thing. That's why they are asking about this. This is why there's such a stress level with Congress in regards to our money that's just being thrown out a window.
So that Treasury general account is basically, that's what they've got to pay for running the country, paying people's salaries,
This is the best, easiest way to correlate it is your bank account and your savings account.
Perfectly said. Brilliant.
Yeah, I know. It's an eye opener. You should cry.
Everyone listening, it's fine. They keep telling us it's fine.
It's not fine.
No.
It's not fine, and it's only getting worse.
Show me the next bit that shows it's getting worse.
This is your trades. So this is the trade balance, goods and services. So a normal level for goods and services that's being traded between like China and the US normally ends up at a number that's roughly around the 50.00 mark. If it's even between the two, normally it will show up right around there, maybe 2 points higher or 2 points lower than this. The problem is that in the last 3 months, you had China that was finally being opened and operated. And when we were trying to negotiate with OPEC in regards to oil and the Saudis we were debating with China. The Saudis thought, because China was going to be reopening, that their factories that needed oil, the consumers that needed the oil, the shipping that needed the oil from China to their export, because that is their main source of income, is importing and exporting goods and services. And that's the big chunk of what the Chinese government makes, is that amount. There's 3,000. There's an astronomical number of boats that are just stuck in port. And the same thing that's going on with us in San Francisco right now. They're being told, we don't have any work. You can go home. And they're just stuck in port. Now, the most important thing to remember in all this is that all these boat captains that are shipping all these goods and services between each other, if they don't have a shipment to send back and forth, then they are responsible for the gas for that boat. And so since China doesn't have factories that are actually open, they're not doing anything. They're not shipping to us. We're not buying shit from them. They ain't buying shit from us. So everybody's at a standstill. The import-export business is not doing anything. And so what do they need to try and upstart an economy? I wonder why they've been moving boats over to Taiwan. I wonder why they're doing army exercises over there. I wonder. I need an excuse. I need a lie. What is the better lie? in this, and it goes back to even our history, is that whenever we've had any type of economic turmoil, and please fact check me if you like, but you can go back in history, and every single time that we've ever been into a depression, recession, or any form of about to be, we've gone to war.
Yeah.
Why? Because war makes money.
Yeah. So we currently got a situation then where we got Chinese boats in San Francisco not moving because of the cost. There's nothing to move, to get, to bring back, to pay for the gas, etc. So we ain't importing stuff from China. There's very little import, if any at all, going from America to China. So we've got our boats sat out in China with no goods to bring back, won't move. We've got boats in China won't go back in order to bring goods back because nothing's moving. So when we keep hearing regarding China won't dump the US, the debt that they bought, the bonds that they bought, China won't dump them because they need us, or rather they need the US for trade. You buy that?
No.
No.
No. Why would they be joining BRICS then? Why would they be going to, and I'm a firm believer that we need to change our money, but I don't believe in the CBDC crap. But I believe that we need to go back to not having our money backed by debt.
Yeah.
There needs to be some sort of backing of money, and the gold backing would be great, but that's another problem for another day, considering that they're trying to buy up all the gold that you see out there.
Right.
I'm going to kind of segue into derivatives, and this is where the banks can make the most amount of money, but at the same time, this is also the biggest problem, because when it comes to derivatives, this is one of the main causes, one of them, it wasn't the biggest one, but it was one of the reasons and main causes of the collapse in 2008. This also segues into the top four banks and why our government wants to go ahead and save the top four banks. I wonder why. Goldman Sachs, 53 trillion, 221 billion, 165 million in derivatives. JP Morgan with 50 trillion, 31 billion, 374 million. Citibank, 47 trillion, 243 billion, 934 million. Bank of America, 19 trillion, 709 billion, 297. These derivatives are for this quarter. This quarter of 2023, this is the most updated list of derivatives. And this is the biggest problem, is when you have these derivatives, but this correlates to now going into ISDA. With these ISDA swaps, the total number that's reported, I believe personally it's a lot more. The total number that's reported right now is $5.27 quadrillion. I'll say it one more time. $5.27 quadrillion that these backdoor handshakes, these bad deals, these your swaps, your CDOs, your married and divorced puts, your synthetics, your nakeds, it's all in that. It's all there.
And this is just this quarter.
And this is just this quarter, the most updated quarter for derivatives for these 22 banks.
And this is exactly what Warren Buffett spoke about in 2001 when he addressed derivatives in the markets being a nuclear ticking time bomb.
This is your ticking time bomb. This is why the notional amount of derivative contracts held by the banks in the first quarter increased by 31.8 trillion, 18.5% to 203.8 trillion from the previous quarter. Why? Because they are holding all this shit. This is where the biggest problem lies and here, in my eyes, the biggest culprit of this is the number two, which is JP Morgan. JP Morgan not only has the second highest amount of derivatives, but they were stupid enough, and I don't know why they would do this, but besides the fact that they're criminals, is to sign up all these hedge funds, Citadel, Susquehanna, all these bad players in the market. They back them. 4,200 hedge funds and family offices are backed by JP Morgan. I don't know why. But now the problem that runs with this is that as these derivatives continue to get higher and these ISDA contracts continue to get higher, and that's just from the bank side, JP Morgan is now adding that 4,200 hedge funds, market makers, all them, and their crap, and backing it. With what collateral? What collateral can they possibly back this with? There's none. There's nothing there. If you have them that's only able to have to show $1 million, what are we doing? Are we running a clown college? Do we have Krusty the Clown that is literally sitting there saying, come to my school, and his best student is Homer Simpson? Please, God, come on. Just throw me a bone. This is ridiculous. And
so
you know what?
Go on.
And the problem with it lies in that it's not going to take from the government's not going to look at the Fed. It's not going to look at anybody else. They're going to take it from you. That's the problem that I have.
Yeah. You mentioned JP Morgan. I'm not a fan. Far from it. When you look at who owns JP Morgan, I went back to the original owner, JP Morgan himself, when he died in 1917, I believe it was now.
Correct.
He was held up as the richest man in America because of JP Morgan, obviously the bank, etc. It turned out when he died, he only owned 17% of JP Morgan at that time. In the chat, anybody know who owned the other 83%?
He's a gangster. I'll give you a clue.
Rothschild. And I haven't seen anything that's changed that. And I don't know, with how I look at Rothschilds, the family, and the history, that they would ever sell JP Morgan. So we got all these repeat fines for these most horrendous things tied up with Epstein and money laundering and drugs and God knows what else. And all they do is pay a nominal fine. And people tell me I'm crazy because I think there's this overall spider's global web, and somebody right at the top is pulling all the strings, and everyone else are like sheep just doing as they're told, or towing a line, or conforming to keep the status quo the way it is. So we've got JP Morgan out there with 50 trillion in derivatives being let off with little fines where no guilt's admitted, nobody goes to prison, nobody gets charged for huge numbers. But if you go and rob some food because you need it for your family, it's a fucked up world.
Hey, just come to Chicago. Our mayor allows you to go ahead and steal and everything else because you need to do what you got to do. I mean, you're fine.
I have to laugh because I'll just cry. I won't cry. I'll get angry, and I'm not going to do that. And I want this info out. So,
it's hard for me to go over this stuff because I I don't want to be viewed as a negative Nancy in any which way, but to be honest, this is a problem. This is one of the reasons why I keep on saying the everything crash, and it's to watch your surroundings. It's you can only they want you to be narrow sighted. They want you to be able to only see in a straight line when you need to have peripheral vision and see everything around you. You need to turn your head left and right and backwards. Why? Because it's going to come from everywhere.
All this. Don't look here, look over there. Don't look here, look at them. Don't look here, look at Russia. Don't look here, look at China. Don't look at us. Don't, Christ, don't look at us.
Let me dangle this puppet and watch my puppet go. That's basically what you are. This topic and what I'm going to be discussing is not just in regards to mortgages and commercial and to this is basically how banks make money. And how banks normally make money is from your mortgages. It's from your credit cards. It's from your auto loans. It is from any loan and commercial lending and rural and all that stuff. It is a whole basket of how banks make money. And to put this lightly, and I will go ahead and just give you guys an example of your residential mortgage. Your residential mortgage on a conventional mortgage, you have to put down 20%. That 20% and less. So if you put 21% to get it below 80, you will not have mortgage insurance. What that technically is their yield, is the bank's yield. The bank's yield normally anywhere between 2 to, before it used to be up to 6% total is what the bank would make. Now it's between 2 and 3% roughly. And that's what it was for a long time. Is the problem with that is that now, if you look at the first chart up above, which is the U.S. mortgage applications, it slumped more than 18%. And that's in a month. It's the lowest level since 1995. That's before 2008. Before
so even the entire 2008 crash, it never went as low as it currently is.
No. So what happens is that as interest rates continue to climb up, and the banks, as interest rates go up, that bank yield, where do you think it goes? It goes lower and lower and lower and lower. So now, per perspective, that yield, instead of it being 2.5%, is now 0.5% to 0.25% of that yield. So the banks, the minute they write a mortgage now, they're not making any money. They write a home equity line, they're not making any money. In dealerships across the United States, your biggest lenders, that Chase, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, that would give out auto loans, are not doing them anymore. Why? Because the default rate and repo rate of auto loans is the highest it's ever been. So now that leads me to credit cards. Credit cards are maxed out. They're defaulting on their credit cards. Commercial, you had two of the biggest real estate firms in Southern California last week foreclose on a $234 million skyrise in SoCal last week. All of these properties that foreclose upon, instead of them being an asset, are now a debt and a liability. All these auto loans that they are collecting on repossessions, which are at the highest that they've ever been, are a liability because it stays on the bank's books and it's not being collected. You can take auto loans to like a to an auction, Mannheim auction or wherever, and you can go ahead and try and sell it, and the bank can try and make whatever they can. But if you're selling a car, let's just say I'm going to use like a Toyota Camry, just a generic car for an example. You can take a Toyota Camry. Let's just say that you owed 20,000 to make the numbers easy. But then you have this dealership that's going to buy that repossessed car at 12 because that's what the book value says that car is worth. So the bank just took an $8,000 hit on that. You have your house. You have a house that's 400,000. But when you foreclosed on it, you took the cabinets, you took the appliances, and they're trying to sell it as is. So instead of that house being worth what the mortgage was, you have a house that's 400,000, but the mortgage on it was 320,000, and now you're selling that house for 180. You're losing your ass. You're not making any money. So what's in their response to this? The chart in the middle tracks all commercial and industrial loans, all credit card loans, all auto loans, commercial, industry loans, government mortgage loans, GSE, which is the same thing as a rural loan for property and land. Look where they're at. 0. They're at 0. Why do you think that Chase, Wells Fargo, and all them are getting out of the mortgage business and not giving out mortgages? Why is it harder for us to go ahead and get a credit card from a bank when you have other places like Credit One or you have, American Express that are going to go ahead and actually give you a credit card? Why is it that none of these banks are doing this? Because the banks don't have any money. They are losing money every time they write a mortgage. When they close that loan, it just became a liability. And that's why refinancing is so hard, because all the applications themselves fell 2.2% last week for a third week low. The gauge of overall mortgage applications have dropped more than 13%, the biggest slide since the previous September. It could be volatile around holidays, but it's bad. It's bad. It's bad, and it's getting worse. And there's no way of correcting this problem.
So we've got the banking industry as a whole that's up to its neck and then some with derivatives.
Mm-hmm.
We've got problems with US Treasuries bonds being sold off.
Yep.
We've got a problem with the bank account for the Treasury of America with no money or very little. We've got a debt ceiling that they won't rise, and if they do, it isn't going to help. It might slow a process, but it's not actually going to help.
Correct.
We've got the usual players that would give out the loans for the mortgages, the car payments, etc., withdrawing their access to it because of the other things that I've just mentioned. And we've got nobody else to be able to step in order to facilitate that loans, which means our houses will ultimately drop in price. The value in our cars will disappear because buyers, second-hand car markets, etc., although we've experienced a real high because there wasn't products coming into the country, we now got a situation where the products that we have got, when they're bought back or people give the keys back to the homes or the homes or the cars, the buying value of it will be so much lower. So the banks are getting out of the way first. They're not giving out any more of these loans to individuals, people, us, to be able to get to our work and provide a home for our family. They're not providing that. So when it all crashes...
And it will crash. Let me tell you, it will crash. And now the biggest problem to all this, and what no one is talking about as well when it comes to the mortgage department, let me tell you this, is that you guys everybody did refinanced during the refinancing boom, which was from 2020 until March of 2022. Those were your lowest rates, which is great. You guys have a low interest rate. Your payment's nice and cheap. Just to give you an idea, you could have bought a house during that period of time of worth $750,000 at a 2% interest rate, and your payment, principal and interest, was about $1,875. Okay, you now can buy a house at $350,000 at a 7.25% interest rate. And even though that the news is reporting you could get a 6.25%, that's bullshit. And the reason being that it's bullshit is because somebody that scores between a 620 and a 740, you're still going to get added a point because you're a high risk loan. I know the government came back and said that they're going to penalize the people for, 740 credit scores and above are going to pay 1.5 points difference to try and equal out the problem. But the problem is that with you buying a $350,000 house at a 7.25% interest rate, because the bank is going to get theirs. They're going to, whatever bank is going to try and give you a mortgage, they're going to get theirs regardless. They're going to screw you in some way, shape, or form. It just take it on the wrist and move on with life. But on that $350,000 loan at a 7.25% interest rate, do you really think that you're going to be able to afford a $3,600 principal and interest mortgage? And that's not including your taxes and insurance. That's just principal and interest.
So on the basic level of that, you've got people that are struggling because they had a poor credit rating, had a higher rate. They're struggling, but they're going to get some assistance off of the people that were on a better rate because they had a better credit score. So straight away, a divide is created, because if you're struggling, you're going to want help from anywhere. And unfortunately,
throw away your credit. Just throw away your credit cards and throw away your crap that you did everything right.
Yeah.
But now you're going to divide it.
Yeah. So now you're going to be divided between those who have been able to be more frugal, with those that are in a position that they're struggling. So the strugglers look on the face of it as they're going to get assistance. Those that were okay and getting by, even though everything's gone up, cost of living, food, etc., they're now going to get penalised, where they're going to be having another percentage plus put to them on their rates that they're paying, etc. But ultimately, what you're explaining, or what you've shown eloquently, is the fact that the banks ain't got no money. They're up to their tits in leverage. They've got derivative contracts coming out of their ears this quarter. There's no money being saved. Credit cards, car payments, houses, etc., all feeling a pinch. So the banks, they've put a squeeze on the people that are managing to get by, albeit frugally and real sensibly made some sacrifices. But they're basically putting us all in the same pot, because when the market goes crash, they've already withdrawn these mortgage offers, these loans, these bank loans, these car loans. They're already withdrawing all of that. So when we all end up in a position where we want to refinance, who's going to refinance any of this?
I don't know. Would I try and do it? Absolutely not. I'd be scared.
The people that we've always been able to rely on, or in the good times we can rely on, they've already withdrawn, loaded everything up, and fucked off.
Pretty much. And left you high and dry. Just to give you guys an example of how that 1.5 difference to your payment, think of it like this. You're basically getting a $700 penalty for doing everything right. And the people that have bad credit, or like a 620 credit score, for example, that own a house, are getting a $500 credit, while you're being penalized $700.
And what about for the people that have got a non-fixed rate mortgage?
So that's the big kaboom. So for people that have an adjustable rate mortgage, when I finish the report, I will come out with I'll come back to Wolfie and we can do another one of these on LIBOR. But LIBOR is about to literally shit the bed. It is absolutely going to. If you are in an adjustable rate mortgage, whatever your highest rate is of LIBOR, and I suggest that you go and find that out, because that's what will be your new payment moving forward.
I know in the UK we have 300,000 mortgages that are in fixed rate. That every 2 months, 300,000 have to renegotiate with whatever the rate of today is. And obviously, there was a lot of mortgages pulled, mortgage offers out in the market that if you went to a financial advisor, they would sit down, bring it up on the screen. They tell you what different ones there were, what you qualified for, what your credit rating allowed you to be open to, what you'd get accepted most likely. So even people that have got the fixed rate in the UK, I know people that I've spoken to that had a low mortgage rate. I was offered a 1.2% for a 2 year, and I wouldn't accept it. I wanted a minimum 5, if I could, a 10 year. I had the mortgage for 2 years at that time. It came at the end of the 2 year period. I had to renegotiate it. It was so it's 1.2%. I mean, it's crazy, isn't it? It's really, really low. It's like exceptionally low. It's crazy low. Yeah, but I know what's coming. How did we not have a market wide crash when COVID and the whole planet was in lockdown? It just didn't make sense. So I stood my ground. I'm not a financial expert, far from it. That's not my world. But I'd looked for long enough to understand when big things happen, there's a price to pay, and we're all going to pay that price. So wouldn't take the 2 year at 1.2. And when he came back to me, he had a 5 year at 1.9. Mine runs out in 2025, and I'll have to renegotiate or look at what's on offer from whoever's loaning at the time to see what the rates are. A lot of people have got fixed rates, gives them a bit of a buffer, maybe a bit of a breather. But I know people that went from exceptionally low up to 3.9% or above on a mortgage offer when it came round. So even those with fixed rates, the UK I know works a little bit different to the US. Um,
So the people that refinanced during the pandemic, like during 2020, when we had never foreseen low interest rates, like, I mean, I was giving people a 15-year term at a 1.75. And on that, you have a low interest rate. But granted, when this thing blows up, and it's going to blow, and I'm not talking about just the mortgage sector, I'm talking about the everything. Your property values, if your appraisal came in, I'm just going to make it simple, at 400,000, all of a sudden you're going to have to take off 30 to 50% of that value when this thing goes automatically, because as interest rates keep on going up, your value of your property is going to go down, and that's just what it is.
so people, there's people that, you don't want to bring everyone down. You don't want to, the end of the world, etc. But you don't want to sugarcoat it either.
I ain't gonna sugarcoat shit. I'm the most blunt, pardon my language to everybody, I'm the most blunt motherfucker you will ever meet, one, and I'm not going to sugarcoat shit.
So let's just talk that through a little bit, Jax. If it's as bad as you envision, and I have to say I hold much the same opinion, genuinely I do. My fear and worry for everyday people, the backbone of not just the US, the UK, across Europe, the whole world. We're not going to sugarcoat it, but if it's as bad as it is, what do you think regarding percentage wise of homeowners, for instance, in the US? What sort of percentage do you feel are going to really feel the pinch?
Major cities, for the most part, because they normally tend to have a higher value for the homes. They're going to feel it real hard. I mean, farms are going to feel it pretty damn hard too. Farmland is worth a lot of money, and unfortunately, having land doesn't help. You can build, but you're going to feel it everywhere. It's not just here. It's not just the United States, but you're going to feel it everywhere, from here all the way around the globe. And you can thank your central banks for doing this and allowing this to happen.
So if it's the absolute extreme worst case scenario, they won't be able to take all the houses back and in as much as then sell them to recoup their money, etc. Because if you pay 100 grand on a 400 grand house, it drops 50. That's 200 grand. You lose your job, you can't pay it. They then repossess the house. You've lost your 100 grand. You still owe them 100,000. Then they'd ordinarily sell that house on to somebody else who would come in with the 100 grand. They've still got you paying back 100,000. And then the new people are then paying the mortgage so that they win, whichever way it goes.
So it doesn't, in the US, when you sell a foreclosed property, for example, so we'll go off of your 100 grand. So that 100 grand, you paid the mortgage, you lost your job, everything else. You lived in there for 10 years. You now owe, like, let's just say 68,000. Well, you foreclosed on the property. The bank is taking that. Now the bank is going to try and sell it for whatever it possibly can. It's probably going to sell it at a loss for probably 60,000 because of whatever reason that the house conditions, they don't want to pay to fix it up and make it look nice to get that, because then they're losing money from two fronts. So they're selling it at a loss, but that stays onto the bank's books as a liability. And the collateral that they have that they were using to rehypothecate towards their bets, or using it towards ISDA, or using it towards their derivatives, is now gone. So it's the same thing with commercial. So there was the example that I can give, and this happened here in Illinois. There was a building here that was downtown Chicago. It sold for $30 million. It sold a year ago for $30 million. You guess how much that it just sold for, because it was foreclosed upon. How much you think the bank got for it?
I'd like to think 20 million, but I've got a feeling it's lower.
9. $9 million that the bank. So they just lost, that bank that held that building, it just lost $21 million. What do you think they're doing with that building now? That's the next question for you, Wolfie.
Probably selling it on to a pal.
They're using it as a storage facility. What an absolute fucking joke. Sorry, it just is an absolute joke. But but here you go. This is the next bit of news, but to go into the next slide is the plummeting valuations will make refinancing tougher for property owners who are likely to face requests from banks to put up more equity. Some owners, especially of older, less desirable office buildings, might decide it's not worth it and the expense given the market climate, and simply just hand back the keys. Think about all the jobs, the offices, the small business owners, even mid-sized business owners and companies that are reducing the space of their buildings, their offices. I know Google's asking their people to share desks. Amazon's laying off people like it's no one's business. You have McDonald's itself, just in the United States, that are laying off everybody. And that's from a corporate level. I can't speak for the franchises, but the corporate level, they're laying off people. Why? Because it's too expensive to hold the buildings. They're not worth that. And the profits that they were making is just making it worse because they can't use it to keep the lights on. These are all assets that are becoming liabilities for the bank. Their collateral is all going bye-bye. Bye-bye. Think you're a little baby and you go bye-bye, bye-bye. That's exactly what you're doing right now with all your collateral that you had. All this bullshit word of liquidity. Oh, bye-bye, bye-bye. That's what's happening. And this guy, Neil Schuring, he's an economist.
Just run me through the banks may prefer that option, the kickstarting, because we did the first paragraph. I don't think we run through the second one.
So the worst outcome of this, according to Neil, and he's with Capital Economics, is what is called a doom loop. A doom loop questions about the health of banks, the sizable exposure to commercial real estate loans, cause customer to pull deposits, that forces lenders to demand repayment, accelerating the sector's downturn and further demanding the bank's financial positions, that triggers more deposit outflows in a vicious cycle. So doom loops. What a doom loop is where you have, as we've been talking about this entire time, you have your residential, that's part one of your loop. Then you have commercial, which is part two of your loop. Then you have your auto loans, part three of your loop. Then you have your bonds, part four of the loop. And then you have completing the entire circle. So as you have commercial properties, for example, and this is the first start of the doom loop, and then with the banks and everything else, the banks are losing money from these bank runs. As bank runs start to happen, the commercial sector is now being affected. Reason being is because the bank is now needing to get money. So they're going to their commercial side and saying, we are pulling from you and bringing it into the bank because we need money. And then we're going to pull from this. And then we're going to pull from that, and creating the loop. And they're demanding repayment. And this is going to be a vicious cycle where they're going to continue this process to where, as I said, businesses are going to fail. Businesses are going to go out of business. Businesses are going to say, fuck you, I'm going to have my employees work from home now instead of going ahead and paying this. So on and so forth, and turning off the lights. And there you are. It's scary.
Yeah.
It's absolutely scary. But wait. Tell me the difference.
Where's it going to go?
Where's the difference between these two?
This says to me, the trillionaires moved, the billionaires moved. They tell the millionaires. So it's climbing. Everyone says, buy this, buy this, buy this, buy this, buy this, buy this. Everyone does, and then it hits a peak. When they start really laying it on, buy this, everything's fine. Buy this, everything's fine. Prices keep going up. Oh, all the doom mongers out there. No, you're wrong. There's always a peak, and then there's a drop. And they'll end it up. I've always seen it, I've always believed it's this way. The trillionaires, billionaires, and the millionaires, and all the puppets and mainstream, buy this. Well, they know there's a peak and there's going to be a drop. It's just the way it works every 10 to 15 years. But some are more substantial than others. Some are fucking huge, like 1929. So they're telling us, yeah, buy this. Well, someone has to sell. For you to buy, somebody has to be selling it. Now, whether it's naked shares or legitimate shares or somebody selling it. So buy. So they come in down here and now it's rose up. Now they're telling you, buy this. Apple's going to hit a $3 trillion market cap. Buy this. People buy it, but they're the ones selling. And then when it gets up to a certain level, bosh, it all comes back down. And then they buy in again, and we do the same. They're just gathering money, gathering money, gathering money. We start going up again, and then once we get up to another level, all of a sudden, bosh, it's over. A market crash would be over. An housing market crash would be over. Loans would be over. A lack of liquidity would be over. Banks not loaning, it would be over. Silverbank, Credit Suisse, it's over. So now we're looking for it to drop.
And here you are. There's now a record crazy spread of 164 basis points between the 1 month yield and the 2 month yield, a sign that some people are panicking and piling into whatever they can for the near term safety. Debt ceiling drama?
But they're telling all us it's fine. We're gonna make sure that the deposits in the banks are covered. And then Janet Yellen does an interview where she turns around and says that the FDIC and her, as a majority of people, will decide what banks they do or don't save.
It's the big old shit show. They're going to tell you their narrative. They're going to tell you what they want you to hear. They are going to say whatever it is to make you all warm and fuzzy inside. It's all bullshit. If I could have Elon make one emoji for me for like space calls and stuff, is literally a person and literally just barfing shit out of their mouth, because that's what she does every time she talks. That's everything that Jerome Powell talks about, is a big pile of shit. And it all is crap. It's all to make you guys feel like you're safe and secure. In 2008, there was no warning. There was no nothing.
No.
It was just one morning you woke up and all of a sudden you saw 1,000-point drop. You saw people that were literally getting pulled out of their homes. You saw office buildings that were people were just exiting from the building and being told not to talk to the press about what was going on, especially like Lehman Brothers and everything else. This is, and like I said, I don't want to be doom and gloom, but there's an upside to all this. But this will be 2008 times 10 and on crack. That's basically what this is going to be. The upside to all of it on this is one that's great, and that it has to deal with AMC and the meme basket as a whole, is that they don't have their collateral. They don't have this magical word called liquidity. There's no way for them to keep the money in their positions. So what happens to them? They all get liquidated and we go up. That's the beauty part to all of it. We're going to be the people that have the money. We are going to be the people that are going to have to make a difference for those people that are less fortunate than us, and for the people that didn't get into the play. You know, I was talking to Wolfie before this, and when I was talking to him, the one thing that I want to do is I do want to open up a weed farm. And the reason why that I want to do it, and I'm going to call it the Great Ape Weed Company, but I want to go ahead and be able to help people with having a job. I want to be able to help people at least have a future for something that's going to happen. This is not going to end for 10 years. Literally, it will take 10 years to clean up this mess. But we have to be the people that make a change, and we have to be the people that make a difference in this world. And that's what we have to be.
I love that. I really genuinely do love that. I think with everything we've ever been through, you know, I've talked many times about who the owners of AMC shares might or might not be. You know, they want to make out 16 or 18-year-olds. It's obvious watching this. It's not. You know, we come from all ages. We all know that.
Correct.
vast majority out there still don't. So doing things like this isn't to scare people. In actual fact, it's just like always for me personally, just trying my damnedest to get people to look. And it isn't to scare the shit out of people. Listen, I have looked. I've always looked. And I had to make real sacrifices over the years to be able to get myself in a position where my debt was, apart from a mortgage, was non-existent. I never chased a pound coin. I was never interested in money. It never ever, as long as I had enough to get by. And I think most people aren't really, there's obviously people would like more money than they could ever spend because it gives them that security, gives them options, gives them a chance to breathe. But I had to do it, and 2008 was just reconfirming what I always felt, how the banks and the markets and the governments and Congress and MPs in London, how it all works. So this time round, at least, like you say, Burry, nobody warned anybody in 2008.
No.
You had the same people in the positions that we've got Yellen today and Powell today that were saying, oh, back then it's fine, it's fine. There's no issue with the mortgages. There's no problem with. We know there was a lot more to it than just market-backed securities and credit default swaps, but there wasn't the people to educate. There wasn't the people on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, God knows what else, Discord doing things like this. This time round, it is a little bit different, and we've managed to reach people, but we're not going to reach all the people. But hopefully, there will be enough of us within the community that at least the truth will be known this time. And when I say we are the cure, not the cause, it's for that reason. If we don't stop them today, if people can say there was 100 trillion stolen from the market by 2009 from market prices, from bonds, from all sorts of things. If they could steal 100 trillion by 2009 by naked short selling things, if we don't make a stand and we don't put a stop to that, we don't get Congress to act, we don't get media to talk about it and warn the people, we have to. We're not financial advisors, neither Jack's, neither me, and millions of others that are in this, but we're not financial advisors. But we looked, and this is what we think, this is what we believe, this is how concerned we are about what they, the other side of this, have been doing for 20 years. It's about time that, if there's good people out there in solid, strong positions, high up positions, Congress, people that, have won Pulitzer, where is everybody? Why is nobody talking about it? Is it the fact that it is so bad, nobody wants to get in front of it? And apes are just trying to say there is a few steps that we're not telling you what to buy, we're not telling you which direction to go, but you don't have to be fearful if you take the right steps, if you look, if you understand what you might or might not be able to do in your own personal circumstance, because they're not going to help you. And we can't help you today but to tell you and show you where to look. And I think hopefully a few more people may end up seeing this. Jax, with all your information, I can't thank you enough. I really appreciate how you put it together. Putting yourself on the line to step up and show your face and say what you've got to say, just so people can go away and have a look.
Absolutely. I believe that you need to be prepared in what's coming. Guys, money is the root of all evil. It sure does make the world go round. But in this instance, just know they don't have it. You see it every single day that people are telling you that, oh, I have 2 jobs just to make ends meet, and I have this that I have to do, or I have to go driving with Uber, or I have to go deliver some food, and because I need money. Eggs aren't cheap anymore. Eggs aren't 99 cents like they were 6 months ago. They're $5. You guys need to start preparing for what is coming. But the good side of all of this is that for the AMC play, for the GME play, for the mean basket play, and all of it, their collateral is drying up. They're running out of money. They can't hold their positions anymore. And it's going to be glorious. And I promise you, this is the only time in history that you will ever see in the stock market so far a reverse split with a business name change and a cuspid ID termination. It has never happened in the history of the stock market at one time. And that will force a forced closeout. By doing so, please come up with all the shares that you shorted on Ape. Please try and find them, because there's no way that they're going to be able to. And on top of that, with AMC itself, can you imagine, Wolfie, if they actually they settled this on the 25th and the actual settlement goes through? So instead of it being a 1-for-1, it's a 1-for-9.5 that they have to go out and find, if that's really the case. How are they going to find it? How are they going to find it? I mean, there's no way.
It reminds me, I've put it out a few times. There's a meme where you've got a wolf, a cartoon meme. Someone's clipped it, obviously.
Mhm.
But he's just opening door, opening door, opening. No, he's slamming door, slamming door, slamming door. And I can't help but think of hedge funds they'll go into the market and they'll try and buy it. But, we believe, generally, people believe that naked short selling has gone on. I believe that 100%. I have no doubt. 20 years of watching and seeing what they do, I genuinely believe, not just in AMC or meme baskets, but across the market. I think they'll tell you that short sellers is a necessary part of the market. And in actual fact, I do see the case for it. But unfortunately, people being people, if they see something they can exploit and make money, they're going to. And the regulators and Congress have ignored it and turned a blind eye and dismissed it and won't deal with it. Well, now we got to the stage that we have. But it does make me think of that meme where fake, 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 fake,
Mhm.
fake. Now they're buying, but every time they buy, it's that fake share back, fake share back. Did we actually have any real shares? Fake share back. It's that bad. I mean, you try and make light of it and have a laugh, but
Wash
oh
and
my
rinse.
God, yeah. So, and there's been a lot of chat about Adam Aaron. I think he's for me to finish up. I don't have a lot left. That last chat that Adam Aaron done for me was the best one he's done yet, by a country mile. It's
I
obviously
totally.
that's listening. It's obviously he's paying attention. It's obviously that he's reading the room. I think he's had to make decisions over time where he had to read the room. But I think that last night was perfectly timed. I genuinely think if I see anybody that wants to go out there, still going at Adam Aaron and the decisions that he's made and this reverse split and that, you're showing your true colours. Because for me, what he said last night was all that needed to be said on the matter. We need to get to the 25th. We need to get the judgment made. And as he said, if we go there and it ends up where it isn't in the favour that they want, this deal that they've proposed doesn't get accepted, the judge throws it out or whatever, they'll come back with another answer. And then we can get the job done. And I think the job will be that Adam Aaron will be able to raise enough money at any time he needs, um, and put us well in front, put us as a company well in front. And that for me has always been a really strong foothold to have. Now, if they want to come at it at $30 and drive it down to 20, who says he can't repeat the process? Who says he can't go out and reissue a preferred equity? Who said that he can't then do a forward split? Who says that he can't then do another reverse split? We went from 516 million, I believe, down to something like 124, roughly. Once we're done. Well, he could do a forward split and put your same amount of shares that you had previously, only you're starting from $20 then.
Why not add a 5% dividend on top of it? That really
And more free shares. I mean, everyone, I don't hear these haters when they come and say, oh, yeah, but I've gone from 1,000 shares down to 100 shares. Yeah, you have, but you actually, Ape give you double the amount that you had.
Mm-hmm.
If you sold them, you're going to be quite bitter, and I understand that because there was a lot of people that were saying, "Oh, sell Ape, buy AMC." I remember that fucking short going on CNBC saying that he was buying Ape because he was shorting AMC, and he looked at it. What's the word for it? What's the word?
I don't know.
It was the difference between the two, but he had one that well and truly would come to the other. Arbitrage. I remember that short, that piece of shit. I remember how many times he's come out and said it's just CEOs don't want the bad flap. You fuck. You absolute monstrous fuck in the market. You're the cancer. You're
Yeah.
representative of the cancer. It isn't that shorting in itself is a big, 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 big bad thing. It isn't. It's when
No.
it's used by people solely to make money, and they'll go after any company they like. And if they can grind it into the ground with the shares available, they will. But if they have to go to a market maker with a market maker exempt to get issued a share, knowing that they can't locate it, they'll carry on and carry on. And if they think they can drive it into the ground, they will, which is exactly how I see AMC play. When I come in 2021, I did see it as risky. I don't today. When I come in 2021, I did believe they ended up getting trapped because everyone was talking about it. And the beauty is, in hindsight, when we look back at this at some stage when the final whistle's blown,
Hmm.
mainstream media was the one that flagged it up to anyone who weren't paying attention or didn't know but knew enough from the history of being lied to by mainstream media and the government's weapons of mass destruction, losing their houses in 2008, stay away from crypto and watching people make vast sums of money. You know, there was a lot of people out there that had that opinion, and all of a sudden they flagged up on mainstream media.
I
Do you know
I
what I mean?
always I always bet against them. When anybody tells me, "Hey, you don't want to bet, you don't want to place, trade on gold or silver or
You buy
this,"
in.
I'm going to do the exact opposite. And you know what? You're finally going to get paid for doing so.
Yeah. I think there's many an option out there for people that take the time to look that
Hmm.
through an informed decision can make their own plans, make their own play. You know, they can position themselves however they see fit. Because ultimately, that's all any of us can do. We can share our ideas and share our views and show where to look, and then it ultimately falls on each individual. Even people that bought AMC or GME or a number of other stocks, you made that decision on your DD, on your research, and that's all we're trying to say to people. Do some research, look into it. It's very difficult now to look back on 2.5 years of DD or know exactly who or where to go because you're an individual. You've got your own circumstance, your own lifestyle, your own wants in life. I can't decide for anybody, nor should I, nor would I, nor have I ever told anyone what to do. I have asked repeatedly that people take the time to look. And with your info tonight and millions of others of us out there um, providing great info, at least the other side of the coin, as you started off very early on when you said, Jax, there's two
Hmm.
sides to every coin. Well,
Yep.
we're inundated with mainstream media and the suits and the experts, and these people are millions and millions, if not billions of pounds, that tell us everything's fine. Buy this, buy that. We haven't said that. We've just said this is a counter argument to everything they're putting out and everything they're saying, like they did in 2008. We learnt our lessons. We started doing our DD. We got ourselves prepared, and we're trying our best to show you where to look. If you want to look at mainstream media, that's fine. If you want to look at the things we're saying, that's fine. But when you come to making your decision, that will always come back on you as an individual, like it will all of us.
Hmm. Information is out there, guys, and I piece this stuff together from information that I see and what I find. A lot of these charts that you can see are directly from the Fed. You can go ahead and just go onto the Federal Reserve website and literally look up what chart you want to see, and it will show you right then and there, clear as day. Are your news companies going to go ahead and show you that stuff? No, because remember, they're all paid, they all have a narrative, and they all want you to know the least a bit amount of information that they possibly can just to get you by. As long as they have you in that wheelhouse, you will never know anything besides what they tell you. This is the same, it is the exact same signals as 2008, the exact same ones. And please fact check me if you like. I have
Always.
no problem with you guys doing it, but you can go ahead and see the exact same thing. And if you want, just go pull up The Big Short. You can watch that movie and it will say the exact same things that I talked about. The problem with all of this is that is just not the real estate market. It is an everything bubble that is going to happen, but you're going to get paid from it because you decided that you were going to bet against the system and go with AMC, GME, precious metals with silver and gold. And you made the opposite bet that they did. And that's the reason why you're going to win.
Jax, I really appreciate everything you've had to say, everything you've shared, being candid and open with your own views, how you're perceiving things that through your own DD you've come to understand and believe for yourself. I know that you've made decisions with family members. Please send my best regards to your dear father. Bless
I
him.
definitely will.
Yeah, please do. And that's all we're really trying to get for everybody else. So you can ignore everything, you can pay attention, you can look away. It's entirely on them. But I appreciate you stepping up tonight, spending some time with me, going through the things that you have. I have learned stuff. I hope I contributed and broke it down in the most simplistic of things. There's a lot of people that don't know, and if they start looking, it can be really overwhelming. So breaking a few things down, making it real simple, we hope, and getting the message out of where to look.
I hope I did. If you guys have any questions for me, you can find me on Twitter, and please, you can message me. I will get to your emails. It's just a matter of when, or your messages, but I will answer every single one of them because I do believe that we are a family and we're not a community anymore. We are a family, and families fight for one another.
I appreciate that. What I did while you were chatting and you was talking through the info, I didn't want to get distracted with the chat. So for those in the chat, I'm just going to have a quick look through. How much longer have you got, Jax?
Oh, I got time. Well, if there's any questions, I'm more than happy to answer.
Okay. I apologise. I'm not going to go through all the chats. I normally do and try and give shout outs, but it's already 2 hours long. But if you've got any quick questions directly for Jax, please feel free to chuck them in. We'll do maybe another 15 minutes on Q&A for Jax. For those that have joined halfway through or towards the end, Jax did talk candidly and openly about his profession, what he does, why he feels the way he does. But if you've got any questions for him personally, please put them in the chat and we'll run through them. See if we get much back, mate. I think you explained it so well. I'm not expecting a lot, to be honest. Highway Frog, take care all. Have a good weekend. And you, Grandpa Barney, lovely to see you. Andrew, once the word gets out that its release date will blow up and gone forever. I'd have to scroll up, and I don't want to miss in case anyone adds any questions.
I did see a couple of things in the chat before, but the one thing that I did saw, the problem with them printing money is every time that they print money, it devalues our dollar. So they can't continuously print and print and print and print and print.
Yeah.
And that's the one biggest problem. And if they were able to kick the can again, you would probably I would revolt at that point. That's just me, though. I'd be a general, and I will direct you guys where to go and how to shoot and do all that good stuff. But yeah, I would probably revolt at that point.
Well, I've had it many times where it's been said to me, well, you know, they can just do this forever. They can do it forever. And my response has always been a simple one. But 2008, Burry gave him a 2-year heads up. 2006, he placed his bets. With all the rules, all the tools, all the players, all the game, all the access to everyone, all the contacts with government, with Fed, with printing of money, they couldn't stop 2008. I think we are in a 10 times worse position globally for what they've done. And we're all here because we're aware, we're paying attention, we've been learning, we've placed our bets, we've hedged how we see fit. And ultimately, in time, we're going to see where we was right and where we was wrong. But between now and then, we're trying to reach as many people as possible. There's a few questions in there, mate. I just want to jump on.
Go ahead.
Lots of thanks for you for appearing tonight. You're the first person really that's ever come forward and done what you've done. You've brought receipts as well, and you've eloquently put across your bit. Grandpa Barney asked what your Twitter is, so I know it's at Jack. So if you look at the screen, Grandpa, it's just a at in front. It's Jax S JAXS 2828. He's been involved in the community. He has been on the space calls. Jax, give a few shout outs to people that have afforded you a voice, because I always shout out Boss and the think tank. I have nothing but love and respect for them. They give me an opportunity.
Ed, Ed Babarik, I can't pronounce his last name. I'm not going to even bother trying. But Ed is one of the people that actually gave me a voice on my first space call. Him, Eric is another one. Truck driver, yeah. Eric Cuttle, or Cutt.
Yeah, I know Eric, been around forever.
Yeah, Eric, Ed, and Fafa are the three people that I'm going to give a shout out to. These were the people that actually gave me a voice, because I was sending in the beginning, just because Fafa did a great job of explaining stuff, but Fafa, I would send my stuff to Fafa. We would have debates in regards to the stuff that I would send him. Same with Ed. And one night I just went into a space call and they said, you need to come up here and talk. You need to explain this information to people. And that's how I got started. But if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be here today.
Well, I can't speak to anyone else, but I appreciate you giving out the thanks. Somebody once clipped something I put together, Dolphin Electesti. Great guy, still involved, still playing his part. He clipped it, Boss put it together, and we are the welcome out of it. So when people give each other a voice, they should always be thanked. So I'm always forever grateful to Boss for all he does for all of us, the education, the experience that I've shared with him, the step-by-step, shoulder-to-shoulder, with all in the think tank. It's just been an amazing journey for me. I'd like to think it would be over sooner rather than later,
Yeah.
but I can wait as long as it takes. I'm just going to check, see if there's any more questions. Phase 6 is a hammer, slowly beating them down. Does Jax. Grandpa, I think that's a question. Do you see it the same way?
Yes, I do. And I believe that these credit support analysts that are being assigned for phase 6 are just not going to let them do this anymore. They can't. There's no way backdoor handshakes can have. They have to add additional collateral, because as we've learned from Archegos and all their same collateral that they were using every single time, you can't have that anymore. So yes, it's slowly deteriorating them, but I wish it would be a little bit faster, but it will end up fucking them up at the end, period. I'm going to answer this question, but this is, do you see the case of a potential dragging out another few months? This is in regard to the court case. Me personally, I think that because both sides have already made a decision on the settlement, the chancellor wanted to go ahead and actually say, hey, you guys are going to do this the right way. I think that because both sides have been pressing her for the most part, I think that's why they moved it up from the 20. One got rid of it on the 27th, and then all of a sudden popped up today on the 25th. Do I think there will be an answer? I hope so. Whether it's settled or it's dismissed with prejudice, I think those are the only two things.
Appreciated. Consolidated audit trail, Cat 6, Phase 6. Do you think they had anything behind them using crypto, or is it crypto, the swaps and stuff, SVX? And
I think it's the swaps, and for that, the CAT system. I know you heard all of our Congress people talking about our privacy and all that stuff. I want it. I would want that, because it shows who's buying it, where they're buying it from, and how it's going to go and where it should be going. Your information is vital to that part of the CAT system. And that's the most important thing in my eyes, is to actually see that it's not, oh, hey, it's not Joe Schmo who's been dead for 45 years. And this is a fake share that they're buying, that they just put to the cat. This is an actual audit trail. And that's something that the stock market, crypto, bonds, yields have sorely needed over the last 40 years.
I appreciate that. I've just had a look through Jim Chanos, David. Jim Chanos, piece of shit. I couldn't agree more. If ever he gets to see this, don't worry, I'll come and say it to your face.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I damn will.
Don't like him. I'd happily stand opposite him in a court of law and argue the toss.
I would love to.
I've got no problem. I've got enough receipts.
I would love
to. I don't like what you say. I don't like how you carry yourself. I don't like the bullshit you come out with every time you open your fucking mouth. A real not. Yeah, him and JP Morgan, very much on the same level.
Oh, Jamie Dimon, yeah, you can add that to the list. But
yeah,
that crook needs to go to jail. That crook needs to. I wish they still had, like, the public executions in front of, like, the government like back in the day. I really do.
A bigger audience, and yeah,
or a good witch hunt where you could just burn them up.
Right, Jax, unless you've got anything else to add, can we sue the government after all this is done because they allowed all this corruption?
You are going to wait 10 years. It's literally going to be a 10-year fix, and that's at that's the least amount of time, because you're going to have to build up every single market to where they were. I mean, it's not going to get fixed right overnight. It's not going to be a snap of the finger and the genie is going to go ahead and print, trillions and quadrillions of dollars. They just burn it all down, build it back up. That's the easiest way to do it.
All right, my man, appreciate it. Right, we're nearly 2 hours 15 in. I'm going to call it a night. For everyone in the chat, much love as always. It's been nothing but love for you, Jax, rightly so.
Thank you very much.
I'm thankful that you were able to come on tonight and do your thing. Unfortunately, we didn't have Mick join. He has messaged me a couple of times, sends his apologies to everyone. Like all of us, we have a life. Sometimes that takes over and we've got to prioritise for other reasons. So I'm not going to go into it, but much love to Mick. Much love to everybody who showed up and watched. We've got 45, I think, pretty much all the way through. So, Jax, that's a personal best for me. So people that do watch me obviously love what you had to say. Thank you very much for coming. Don't forget to thank your dad, yeah?
No, thank you guys for listening. And like I said, we're a family. We need to be there as one.
Much appreciated. On that note, I'm going to attempt to end the stream. Much love to you all. Enjoy the rest of your evening and your weekend.